Hello everybody and welcome back to the Athlete Podcast. Today I'm joined by Nikita Setchell, who is a kayak cross / canoeist.
Yeah.
All the way down from Nottingham. Trains at, give me a moment, Home Pierre Pont.
Yeah, I train there and at Lee Valley Whitewater Centre in London.
Okay, so that's the way to distinguish these is one's got brown water and one's got blue water.
Yeah.
So we're joined by Nikita Setchell. She is a kayak cross athlete and double world champion, I understand. So tell us a little bit about how you got into your sport and how you got started, Nikita.
I grew up in the sport. The first time I went to an event I was 6 weeks old. My parents both competed in it. So it's all I've ever really known, to be honest.
Yeah.
I used to do swimming as well, and at the age of 13 made the decision to follow canoeing. I got to a good enough standard in both that I had to choose, and then when I was 14 my family moved to Nottingham so I could train, and then later on moved to London to train on the Olympic course.
It sort of comes to that, doesn't it? Especially people that are doing two different things. You know, some children, they might take up maybe sprinting and football because they're fast. And it makes sense.
Yeah.
If you're a fast footballer, try sprinting. But it comes to a point, doesn't it, where you either put all of your time into one or the other, or you continue putting all of your time into both of them, and you sort of fall short from that top level, right? Because you can't give your all to that one sport. So you chose canoeing. Your parents are both canoeists as well.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they were pretty happy about that. What did they have to say at the time?
I think they didn't want to push me down a certain route. They were happy whatever decision I made.
Yeah.
Definitely was more convenient if I did canoeing. So I think they were a bit happy.
Yeah.
They just wanted me to be happy in what sport I was doing. I was definitely doing a lot of sports at the time as well, not just swimming, as my mum was a PE teacher, so sports, just a lot of what I've known.
It just sort of engulfed your life, I imagine.
Yeah, and I just got to a point where if I wanted to excel in one, I had to make the decision.
And this was sort of like, as you mentioned, this was in sixth form, right? When you moved. You moved before sixth form, but the plan was to move for sixth form to go and be closer to Home Pierre Pont. Yeah. Which is interesting. It's definitely not something I would have done at 16 because I would have been too scared. Yeah. What was the idea behind that then? Was it just to be right there with the best facilities, or? Well,
originally I'm from a place called Helzone. Yeah. And with rush hour traffic, it was taking like 3 hours after school to get there, and then it would be like 2.5 hours back. And my parents were just doing a lot of shuttling to and from. It was becoming quite tiring as I was having to do more training sessions. So I made the decision that once I got to sixth form, I wanted to move to Nottingham to train better. And my parents were just like, why don't we move with you? And it just fell into place of my dad found a job, they found a house, and it was easy enough for my mum to change jobs, and they were just like, why don't we move now? And so we moved when I was 14 instead.
How did that affect your friendship groups and things like that? Were you worried about that, or were you just sort of zeroed in on your sport?
I wasn't worried because I was going to Nottingham so often anyway. Yeah. A lot of my friends there were canoeists as well. Yeah, so and I ended up going to the same school as them anyway. Okay. So I obviously still had to make new friends, but it wasn't as daunting. And I still managed to keep in contact with some of my old friends.
Okay. So, to be honest, I'll tell you what is daunting at that age, is juggling all of this. How do you do that on a day-to-day basis? Obviously, you have as a child, you probably have three main, what's the word? You have three main things to do every single day, right? You go to school, you've got homework, and then you've got, for many, it's an Xbox. But I imagine for you, it was your sport. How do you juggle all that? Is it just straight, you have to be active constantly and constantly travelling somewhere or doing something? It was definitely hard, but it became simpler once I'd moved. Yeah. I was lucky before that I went to a sports specialist school, and they were very understanding of when I had PE lessons, I could miss them to catch up on work. Yeah. And then they also had gym that I could go to before school. Yeah, yeah. And then when I moved to Nottingham, there were so many canoeists at that school that they'd come in and do training sessions for gym and lunchtimes. So that helped, but you'd still train before and after school.
It was definitely challenging to start with. Had to restart my GCSEs due to changing exam boards and everything. And I did art, so that wasn't the easiest.
Oh, art was a terrible exam, wasn't it? I heard about
So I had to restart all my artwork. But you just become quite disciplined at organising when you need to do work and strict on yourself. And then university was a whole nother level of...
difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so where did you go to uni then?
I went to Uni of Nottingham.
Yeah.
I wanted to stay in Nottingham because I could train at times I needed, rather than in Lee Valley it's a pumped course. There's only set training times.
I see.
So it clashed more with university, and I decided I wanted to do both. So I went to Uni of Nottingham to do product design and manufacturing engineering.
Very nice.
Would train really early, ridiculously on the water.
Mm-hmm.
Be at uni from 9 till 5, and then go train after.
Terrible. Just awful.
It was quite a lot, but again, the university helped me when I needed like an extra deadline to be extended. So I was quite lucky in that sense.
So how do you think that all this dedication benefited you in your career then?
I think you just become used to being under pressure and having to perform, like whether it's with a deadline at school or sport, and you just become very disciplined of you've got to do certain things at certain times. You might not enjoy it necessarily, but like you enjoy the bigger picture and it's the process.
The success that everybody sees at the end is...
Yeah. But I think it's also important to enjoy the ride. It's not just for the result. But I think you just learn good discipline from it. Yeah,
I mean that's probably one of the main lessons that sport teaches, especially from a young age. If not, I mean you get the team sports and they sort of teach you, you learn how to win and how to lose, right? When you're a sporty person, when you're competing and things like that, when there's not necessarily much on the line when you're younger, but it feels like it's everything.
Yeah, I think a big lesson I learnt was not underestimating yourself. A lot of other people underestimated what I could get done, and I got told to manage my expectations. Because I wanted to excel at sport and I wanted to get a first in my degree, and people were telling me like it's hard to do both. But at the end of the day, I came out with a first in my degree, and in the same year I became world champion.
This was a big year for Nikita then.
Yeah, but I think the moral of the story is like, if you believe in yourself and know what you can do, you can go out and do it.
Yeah. What do you think is, in terms of, there's a recipe, right? For, you create your own luck, and to create anything there's got to be a recipe. What do you think is the recipe for success in sport then? What are the main key parts of it? Obviously you've got your training, your hard work. How much do you think talent plays into it, and how much do you think the mentality of yourself plays into it too?
There's the classic quote of
you're going to do it, aren't you?
I know.
I know it off by heart.
I know, if hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
And it's so cringe, but so true.
It is. No,
you can have the talent, but if you want to be the top 1%, you don't make it if you don't want to work hard with it. And I think part of you does have to have talent to start with. I don't think, as hard working as you can be, if you're missing an edge, it can be really difficult to win gold. Doesn't mean you won't get medals, but if you want to be at the top of the top,
that's just the way it can be in sports. You don't see many very, very tall gymnasts, and there's a reason why.
It's like you're not going to see a 5-foot person playing basketball.
Exactly.
So I do think hard work's a massive part of it. And it is ingrained in you. Like, I don't know how to do something by halves in any aspect of my life.
Just no half measures whatsoever.
No, it's full on. But you just learn to persevere. And the classic of what my coach always says, like, in a graph, it's not a straight line to success. It's all squiggles backwards and forwards. You can't expect it to just go up and up and up. You will go back on yourself, but that's where you persevere and keep moving forward.
And that's where the best lessons come from, isn't it? That's where you get these like, golden nuggets of just sort of belief, isn't it? Really, you get over something, and then you realise, I could realistically do that again and then some.
Yeah.
And then you realise, hold on, if I just temper myself and I don't expect the most, even if it's a bad situation, if I don't expect the most to come out of it, then I could get through anything, really. And so, I mean, sport is just, by nature, full of disappointments. You know, only one person can win, only one team can win.
You definitely have more lows than highs, but the highs make it. And everyone has a bad day. Like, no matter who you are, I have bad sessions, and I'll still have tantrums where I'll be like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
But you come back and you learn from it. Even when in the moment you're like, what can I learn from that? But eventually you do.
Yeah, you'll uncover it after a while at least, if you ponder it enough.
Yeah.
So what does a regular day look like for you? As a Team GB athlete, you're full-time training, 9 to 5, just straight up. What do you start your morning with? What do you end your evening with?
We start off, I arrive at the centre around 8 a.m, start doing your like pre-warm-up in the gym, get ready, get on the water, warm up, and then I'll go look at the course, and then you do your training session.
Yeah.
And then once you get off from training, you'll do a video review with your coach generally. Sometimes you might pop in and see the physio if you've got a little niggle. Then generally go back for my lunch, come back again, same all over again if I'm on the water, or sometimes I might be in the gym and I'll do my gym session.
Okay, so when you say you arrive at 8 a.m, you get your pre-warm up, and then you're on the water.
Yeah.
Right, hear me out, because it's, what are we on, the 15th of the 15th of November now. What do you do if it's frozen?
So at Lee Valley, sometimes the warm-up lake freezes, but generally once they turn the course on, it like breaks it up. But it can be a challenge to warm up sometimes.
Yeah.
But once it starts pumping round, it's fine. The moving water's never really frozen, so sometimes you get chunks of ice like this coming down at you to start with, but then it's okay.
I mean, it's honestly, I wouldn't want to be out there at 8 a.m. in a little boat, like.
It can be freezing, and you have like little icicles in your hair when it gets so cold. How
do you even deal with that?
Not that well.
Yeah, I imagine.
And every winter comes around, and you're like, oh no.
I believe that you have I'd be having tantrums.
And you get this sensation in your hands where like they warm up too fast, and it's like burning.
Yeah, when you touch the cold water.
Yeah, that's probably one of the worst feelings in winter.
Yeah. Oh my god. You don't even get to wear like a pair of mittens or something.
They have something
gloves,
called like pogies, and it attaches onto your paddle, and you like slide your hands in.
Oh, like I see the delivery bikes with the
like, kind of like that.
Oven mitts.
But it doesn't stop you getting wet. It just keeps the wind off your hands. So it's not quite as cold.
I imagine it's more than welcome.
Yeah, but it's personal preference whether you paddle with them or not, because it can be a bit irritating.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay, so moving on, sort of going further into your day, you review videos of yourself. You look at, see where your techniques going, see where your techniques, I don't want to say sloppy, but see what needs to be improved.
Yeah.
You look at it, your coach tells you, maybe if you're a sprinter, they would all do the same. If you're a sprinter, you'd be told, you need to take longer strides, you need to hit a rhythm. What sort of criticism do you get when you're reviewing this footage?
I guess it's more like lines of the boat, following the flow, or sometimes I come back too early to a gate, and then you have like no space to paddle, and you just get a bit stuck.
Yeah.
So we review like more lines, or if you're like leaning back too much, you need to sit up quicker.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, and more specifics of like sweeping it up, but you have to be like more specialised and know what the sport is to understand.
Okay, so what what kind of camera angles have you got? Like,
we usually just video off iPads.
just straight. Okay.
Yeah, or like an iPhone. If it's because we do like shorter sections training, but if we're doing the full runs like you were doing a race or longer sections, then they usually get out like the handheld cameras or we have technology called like Emotio, and you wear a bib and the overhead cameras track you and follow you. So that's quite good as well.
Okay, so do you ever wear like a GoPro or anything on your chest or on top of your helmet, or?
We have, but I guess it's more for like Instagram views rather than being able to analyse it yourself.
Is there not much valuable information from that?
It's like too close up, you can't see the line you're actually following.
Okay, I see.
It's just more entertaining, I guess, if you want to watch it.
It is. I'll be real, it is more entertaining. It seems like utter chaos, to be honest, especially kayak cross, because it's, I mean, whoever came up with having to do a 360 around these sort of buoys that are floating is unbelievable, to be honest. But moving on, we're still sticking with your day here. So you finish your sort of reviewing time, and then you go and eat some lunch or something like that. How would you fuel your body for the second half of training on a typical day?
Depends whether I've got a really full-on day, high-intensity training. Then I eat a lot of carbs. Always have protein after my session to recover. But if I've got a lower impact day, then I might have less carbs and more protein. Generally eat quite a lot of pasta.
I imagine. Chicken and rice, or?
Boyfriend's more chicken and rice, but I'd rather have pasta and chicken, I think.
Okay. Any sauces? Nothing like that?
Yeah, definitely sauces.
And broccoli, asparagus, maybe?
Yeah, mixing all the veg.
Oh, I'm getting real like athlete food energy from this right now. I need specifics.
Doesn't mean I don't have the odd donut.
Okay. This is a good way. This is a good segue to move on to sort of cheat meals and treats and things like that. I always like to ask this to every single athlete that comes on the podcast. When, for you at least, because it depends on different sports and things like that, when for you is the best time to have a treat?
I wouldn't say there's a best time. Like, I wouldn't do it night before a competition, have a sugar rush, anything like that. But everything in moderation. I don't think it's good to restrict. I don't want to be unhappy. Like, I love food. So definitely learn, like, if I want small bits now and again, have it. As long as I'm not being excessive, it's fine.
What sort of impact does it actually have when you small bits now and again? Obviously, if you're indulging, it's different. You have to expect to take on weight if you're, as I said, not eating in moderation. But if you're maybe having, I don't know, this might be less in moderation than what you think, but maybe like a sweet treat with your lunch every single day. I think a lot of people in the UK can, relate to that at least.
I guess, like, I wouldn't want to have a high from sugar, then crash straight before a training session. Like, my priority is my training. So I guess there is a bit of timing around it. Like, I'm more likely to have a sweet treat like end of the day.
I see.
Maybe before dinner. Maybe not the best, but I have quite a big gap between like my last session sometimes before I have dinner, so it's not the end of the world. But I wouldn't say I have it like really often, but I don't shy away from it if I'm like out with friends, or like I'd feel like a donut or a chocolate bar. I will have it.
Okay. I mean, that's much more grounded than some people have come on here and said. They're just like, no, don't have it. Or the best one, the one that I like to hear, right, is just after a competition. Straight up. We're going Mackey's, we're going to the Chinese, we're having a Domino's. There's just no, they have absolutely zero shame about it. So
I'd say I do that. We always have a selection race over Easter weekend. I want my Easter egg, but I usually hold off until the competition's finished. Then I'll have my Easter egg.
What's your choice, is it?
Mini eggs all the time.
A mini egg one?
Yeah.
Okay. That's up there. I'll give you that. That is up there. So yeah, going on to obviously food, it's much more about discipline than most people think it is, at least. What would you say about just the relationship between discipline and your sport in general? Because it sounds like you have a more rigorous training schedule than a lot of different athletes in a lot of different sports. So what would you think the relationship between discipline and kayaking is for you?
Well, I guess I train twice a day, 6 days a week, so I only get 1 day off.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll have 3 sessions a day. I guess it's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
Like, I have to fuel right and be good with my nutrition, otherwise I turn up for a session and I feel it, I don't have the energy. And you learn from that, so then you're more disciplined with like what you eat. You make sure you eat enough, because if you're wasting sessions all the time, you don't feel good about it. You get frustrated. So you just you learn to feel right, have enough fruit and veg, look after your gut health. It's not just that. That's a new thing I've been learning. Getting your seeds as well. So yeah. Do
you have so when you say seeds, you mean like chia and stuff like that?
Yeah, like anything.
Sunflower.
Yeah, our team doctor was like, gave me the biggest tip of, in a jar, tip in like different nuts and seeds, and then just take a handful of it and put it on your breakfast. Then you've got a range of loads of different stuff. What's your choice for breakfast then? Are we oats? Sometimes porridge.
Okay.
But I always put it with a protein as well, so I don't have a spike.
Yeah. Do you typically go for like a scoop of protein or actual protein?
Greek yogurt.
Okay.
Or like skyr yogurt.
Yeah.
Or I have granola. It sits quite well for me.
Yeah.
Top it with some fruits and some nuts and seeds. That's generally what I do.
That's not bad.
Sometimes protein pancakes, but
okay.
Yeah, make it with Greek yogurt instead of protein powder.
How do you make a pancake with yogurt?
You just blend it up.
How does that work then?
It's like yogurt, egg, some baking powder.
Yeah. Milk.
Some oats.
Milk?
No, you can, but I don't. Put some oats in it, blend it up, put it in a pan, and you get like an American style pancake.
Listen, I'm gonna be really controversial here right now, but a pancake without milk is an omelette.
No, it isn't. I think it's because it comes from like the Greek yogurt.
Okay, yeah, that
so
would
then
make sense.
it's like that.
Dairy.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds really good.
Yeah, it's good.
I'll get them to make it down in the cafe, yeah, and we'll all try it, and then we'll all vote on whether we.
I'm not saying it's as good as like crepes, but I mean, it's not bad.
I'm gonna. Eating healthy is never as good as eating healthy, unfortunately. It's it's devil and angel, really, isn't it? It's two sides of the same coin. On one side that you really don't want to be on the majority of the time, isn't it?
It's not. I think you learn new ways. And I try to steer away from protein powders when I don't need it. Because I do think as soon as you add protein powders to food, it doesn't taste as good.
No, absolutely not. No, you're right. It doesn't.
So if I can get my protein from other avenues, then I will.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's needed for a protein shake.
Okay, I see. And obviously yogurt, and especially eggs. Eggs are fantastic protein, aren't they? But the yogurt too. I've never really considered it because there's a lot of fat in the yogurt. The yogurt. Sometimes
I have like full fat Greek yogurt. It helps your gut. It's good. Or like kefir.
Kefir is really, really good for gut health.
Yeah. And then like maybe later in the day, if it's after a session, I'll have skyr yogurt. It's lower in fat, higher in protein. Yeah. Makes more sense.
So obviously when you think of the food pyramid, a lot of people will try and avoid fats and fatty things. What are the sort of benefits that you get from having it then, other than the protein, of course? Yeah, there's the like natural probiotics in it. Yeah. Stops you getting sick, keeps your gut healthy. I'm not a scientist, but if your gut's healthy, you're living better, you're not getting as ill. Your mind is much healthier as well, is what I've found. Everything functions better, even like your muscles, everything. That's definitely been a learning for me over the past year. Yeah, I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't even consider, that your gut is actually a microbiome, a lot of your different organs in your body. You need to keep it like tip top, because the bacteria gets out of whack in there. It's game over. Yeah, you're unbalanced. I don't want to get into chakras or anything like that, but it is you know, you're not
at your optimal.
Yeah. It's because it's one of the most important things what you feed yourself, because you need energy to do pretty much everything in life, whether you sat at a desk, you know, if you're in school learning, even if you climb Mount Everest, you got to have like an oat bar or something like that to do anything. And so the discipline that's sort of roped into sport with what you eat, when you train, how often you train, how dedicated you are, it's always very interesting for me. But we'll move on. Let's talk a little bit about the kayaking World Championships, the under 23 to be specific. So you're a 2-time winner consecutively, and that's quite a feat, isn't it? It's, from what you've shown me, it seems to be that anything could go wrong, anything could go ahead, if you will. You know, you can sort of like bumper cars, but anything can happen mainly. So that must play into how you're feeling mentally before you start competing, surely.
Yeah, I definitely get a bit nervous compared to my canoe slalom. Like, you're just on a run and you're by yourself. In kayak cross, I can't determine what 3 other people are thinking. They could be thinking, oh, I'm going to take out that person. Like, I don't know. But you just have to trust in, you still know what you're doing, what your game plan is. You have to react a lot more.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, something I'm learning at the moment is that the medal doesn't define me as a person.
Yeah.
I'm there to enjoy it. I want to succeed, and that's the goal. But it's not everything in life.
Yeah. So how did you feel when you won your first World Championship then? Because at that point you are the best in the world as under 23 years old.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think of, right?
Definitely didn't believe it. I was like, what has just happened? It was a bit strange because we didn't have crowds because COVID was still around.
Yeah.
So they had to limit that. So it was very strange. That was like the first international race I didn't have my parents at.
Yeah.
It was definitely, just didn't expect it. And then second year came around. I was more nervous, wanted to retain my title, but it was definitely way more of an atmosphere. We had crowds there. A lot of the parents of the team were there as well, so when you were on the podium, it was pretty cool.
So before that, how many times you actually competed in kayak cross?
The first time I competed in kayak cross was at the World Championships.
Wow. Okay, so no one expected that then?
No.
And then the second time, you got one under your belt.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's thinking, oh, there's Nikita. Oh, I remember that from last year. She wiped us all out. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so going into the second one, I know that you said you were feeling a little bit nervous because of this. I mean, you got like an energy around your name now, you know, a bit of a buzz there. How did you sort of deal with that when you were going into competing?
I definitely had doubts.
Yeah.
I think I still had it in my mind of like, was it just a fluke? Can I do it again?
Yeah.
But I just had to believe in my ability, and I knew what I was doing. So it's just always bringing it back to that of like self-belief for me is something I struggle with. But if I'm in that good space, then I know I can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll just go take out that person.
So you wrapped up the second time, and then how do you sort of go forward from that then? Because you're the under 23 world champ, but when do you become senior? Is that? Yeah,
I had 1 year after where I wanted to become 3-time world champion.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
Anything can happen.
Yeah. And then I was starting to make senior team in kayak cross at the same time.
Yeah.
In my past couple of years. So it was moving on to, there's always a big jump from under 23 to senior level. Even though a lot of it does cross over with competitors.
Yeah.
But I wanted to then make that step up. So I was just working my way up to that, and then this year got my first senior medal at the European Championships.
Very, very nice. And I understand that next year you're looking to hit the World Championships with.
Yeah, this year there was no World Championships because of the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
So hopefully next year I could go out and get a
stamp your mark on
the
seniors.
That'd be nice.
Well, I understand that you want to become champion of that, so obviously best of luck to you. And I know that obviously because you're performing at such a high level that you'll be meeting the Olympic quota for 2028 as well, which is, we discussed this a little bit before, but that will be around when you're at your peak.
Yeah, I'll be 27, 28.
Yeah.
It's not sure how we'll qualify for the Olympics yet. Everything's still got to be released.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, hopefully it will go well.
Is that sort of always sat in the back of your mind? You know now that
I think
we're looking at.
Yeah, after qualifying the Olympic quota this year.
Yeah.
But missing out from actually going.
Yeah.
It's like even more of a goal to strive for. Of like, I want to go to LA.
Yeah, of course.
And then hopefully Brisbane after as well.
I mean, it's going to be a couple nice Olympics. I'll be really, really honest. Like,
yeah.
Very, very, very. Well, I don't know about LA being a pretty place, but it'll certainly be warm. But Brisbane, gorgeous place. So, sort of wrapping this up now, do you have any sort of message to maybe someone that's looking at starting? They're looking at getting into canoeing. You know, they've seen you online, they've seen what the sport is like. They think, oh, I like that. What would be your top tip for them? And then maybe what would be some advice that you give to anyone that's just sort of looking at starting a sport or isn't too keen, maybe?
I think reach out to a local club near you.
Yeah.
Rock up, give it a go, see what you think.
Of course.
Maybe starting in the summer if you're not too a fan of the cold. But it's such a good community.
Yeah.
And I think even if you're not looking at this sport, you're looking at other sports. Just go, give it a go. Do it because you enjoy it, and then you'll find success along the way.
What should maybe, in terms of people that would like to get into canoeing, but you know these facilities, they're few and far between, right? Mm-hmm. They're expensive, they're very high tech. What would someone do if they don't live close by one of these places? If
you search on Paddle UK, they have a list of like venues. It's not just the big venues like Home Pierpont or Lee Valley.
Yeah.
There are smaller clubs dotted around that are ideal for beginners to get started, and a lot of clubs have boats you can borrow to start with as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for coming along.
It's been a pleasure.
And thank you everybody for listening too, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye.